podcast in which one man strives to level up his geekhood and helping you do the same, one battle at a time. Now, let's get geeky with Gamer Leaf.
Have you heard of the Kingdom of Mourne? Beautiful mountains where peace and harmony abound. As thousands of years ago, evil creatures ran amok across Ireland, but the elder folk came to our rescue and defeated the nightmarish fiends during the Great Holocene. They were trapped within the Silver Orb in true Kingdom of Mourne, a realm half real, half imagined. There they have waited. Their one aim, to tear down the Mourne Wall and set the Old One's war dog free. MourneQuest is a cooperative board game for 2 to 4 players based on the MourneQuest novel by Irish author Garry McElherronto. Heroes Jack, Cobbs and their friends gather power from the land itself with granite, blackthorn, flax and gold. They hunt for magical relics of the elder folk to boost their skills. But even the bog beings, the normally elusive fairy folk of the dark forests and marshlands, seem set to block their path. Each hero is embodied in an amazingly crafted miniature with a scorecard showing their individual strengths and weaknesses. Depending on the changing cycle of the moon, the heroes and nightmares possess different abilities which can help or hinder their quest. Join Jack Turner and Cobbs, a 437-year-old Cluracon, don't call him a leprechaun, who lives alone in a creaky old mansion perched high on top of a tree that grows within a tree. On your quest, you will battle many enemies, from the snivelling snipes, the worrisome warts, onto the bewitching banshees and the deadliest Doulahan, all united under the terrifying influence of the most evil of creatures, the Shinivore. Back our Kickstarter campaign, defeat the nightmares, and you become the heroes of the MourneQuest.
Did that sound familiar to you guys? It didn't to me neither, but this is a story, or that was a story of MourneQuest, which is currently finishing up its last few days, last week up here on Kickstarter currently. And tonight we're lucky enough to have on the creator mastermind behind both the game and then also the creator mastermind behind the actual novel that it's inspired by. Is that correct? Is that how you guys fit into line with MourneQuest, David and Garry?
Sounds right.
Yep.
Awesome. So let's see here. Let's rewind a little bit if we could first off, and we'll go ahead and introduce everybody. Before we go back we don't want to go back too far, of course, unless you guys were born into tabletop board gaming. But how did you guys get started into playing tabletop board games? Let's start with David, and then you could go after him, Garry.
I started off playing board games as a child. I suppose one of the first ones I played was something like Escape from Colditz. I later progressed to a fantastic game called HeroQuest. And then obviously I had to get Advanced HeroQuest, so I got into the role playing. And from then on, I really got hooked on games of any description at all.
Okay, and that was David. And how do you fit into line with MourneQuest?
I've never really been into this kind of gaming. I wrote the novel, and then someone suggested that it might make a good board game. So I applied for an art council fund, and I got some money to do that. And then I took the prototype board game along to a games convention where thankfully I met David and Leo. Okay, so you didn't really play, so Garry, you didn't really play board games, you just designed a game, or somebody said to design a game off of the novel? Yeah, it's precisely right, yeah. Interesting. Do you play games now or just MourneQuest, I guess? Just MourneQuest, more reading than playing games and writing. Well, that's interesting. What about yourself, David? How do you fall in line with the whole MourneQuest board game?
Well, I have to actually contradict Garry and say that's not actually true. He's brought his daughter along to a couple of game conventions and she loves playing games.
Yeah, well, she adores it. Yeah, I do too. I mean, they're converting me, but that's not what it was originally.
So yeah, I mean, MourneQuest is one of many, but I mean, for us, I mean, I did a bit of a designer's diary today for BGG. For us, the one thing when Garry introduced us to his version of MourneQuest, the board game he had come up with, was the theme and the world that he had created. I mean, I think I described it. It was a bit like The Hobbit, but Irish.
Oh, okay, like The Hobbit, but in Ireland. Interesting.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So, but they've since converted you. You said, Garry?
Yeah, I mean, I'm following the games. This Kickstarter thing, looking at all the different board games that are on there now. It's fascinating to see this whole world.
Yeah, it's crazy. I don't think it was this last Tuesday, but the previous Tuesday, so maybe two and a half, maybe 3 weeks ago, there was on that day alone, there was, I want to say, 29 games that launched on Kickstarter in the tabletop world.
Yeah, it's huge.
So it's pretty crazy. Yeah.
It's pretty crazy, but I think what we're trying to do is bring something different to the table. The Irish theme, the Irish mythical monsters being brought to life, hasn't really been done before.
I would agree, David. What I noticed, one of the comments coming through was, how many zombie games can you play? So they like the idea that this is something new and different. So that's a good point.
Yeah, so going along with that, the word on the street is you guys have a new game on Kickstarter called MourneQuest. What can you tell us about it? Maybe, Garry, since it's part of your brain, you're the brainchild of it or whatnot, with the novels and whatnot. What can maybe you could start and then David could go after you?
The game massively impresses me. I'm totally enamored with David and Leo from Backspindle. I mean, I think what they're doing is incredible. Basically, I write the stories. I use the flora and fauna of the Mourne Mountains to help come up with the actual creatures. So whatever physical traits the plants have, then I will translate that into sort of, anthropomorphize them into some sort of human, well, semi-human type of character. And then it lent itself to being turned into a board game. I was lucky along the way to meet with some people who worked on the sets of The Hobbit and some other amazing artists. And then I went to a games convention with it, and that's where David and Leo came along. And they saw the merit in the work. But David is the king of gaming, as with Leo.
What can you tell us about MourneQuest, the board game, David?
First of all, I thought that I sort of fitted in because of my height with the fairy folk.
All Cluricon.
I think, very much for me, I mean, MourneQuest, the book, is very much for me a teen novel. It reminds me a little bit, as I say, of The Hobbit or a sort of a fairy folk, Artemis Fowl type thing, where you get an average little child who discovers a magical world, a bit like Narnia, going through the wardrobe or whatever, goes through a door to this magical world of the Mournes, and then meets these various fairy folk who, I'm not sure if they take pity on him, but they help him in this quest, and they have to work collectively or collaboratively to try and stop the evil force that sort of seems to be taking over the world or the lands that they live in. So very much, I think the driving force for us then was to try and have a game that is not too difficult in terms of clunkiness, mechanics, and so on and so forth, but does force players, and it very much does force players to think about every single action they take and maybe communicate and say, well, you know what, if you do this, I'll go over here and I'll do that. You're faster at doing this. I can freeze a bog bean, etc., etc. So the whole game plays out like that cooperatively. But the other thing is, and I put this in the thing today as well, was that in Garry's original game, we had this impending doom, this doom track. And I think very much like the likes of Forbidden Island and Pandemic and games like that, the more you get to the end, the harder it is, the pressure, the stakes are raised. So we built that into the game, but in a different way from the moon track. We used the moon, but in a different sort of way. We used resource gathering because obviously we go to Essen and they like the Euro game ideas out there. So really, it's one of those games where you might think, well, we'll all do this at the start and everything will be, joyful. But actually, if you do that, it's going to have consequences later in the game.
Cool. Yeah, cool beans. So let's going along with because you kind of told us the story, a little bit of MourneQuest or whatnot. So Gary, I've never read them. I know I was talking to David a while back ago about the novels and whatnot. But what can you tell us about the novels? Is it one and done novel, or is it a series, or?
It's a series of novels, originally inspired by a very simple question from my then 4-year-old son. He's now 14. He asked me one simple question, and that's what started the whole series.
Do you remember what the question was, or is that privy information?
Oh, no, I remember vividly. It became an obsession. He asked me, where do dandelion clocks go when you blow on them?
And so that's what the novels answer that question then?
Yeah, basically the original, because my kid was 4, the book was originally called Dandelion, and it was based on a bear that helped make wishes come true. But I was very lucky to meet a brilliant Northern Irish writer, and he decided that you should lose the bear. So I went to my best friend, John Farley, who's also one of the artists for the work. And I said, we need something Irish, but not a leprechaun. It's a bit diddly. And at this point, I wanted something different. And he came up with a brilliant design. And then I realized cluricons are like a poor relation of leprechauns. They're usually nocturnal alcoholic leprechauns but there's very little written about them, so I decided to make the whole family cluricons.
Okay, interesting. And has the question been answered yet, or is the series still going today?
Well, the series is the third book starting, The Obsidian Stone. So the first book is about a young boy whose wish doesn't come through the way he wants. He loses his father to the sea, and he wishes for his return, and he gets magically transported to the true kingdom of Mourne, where he meets Cobbs, who's a 437-year-old cluricon, and it's his job to make the dandelion clock wishes come true. So together they set out into the Mourne Mountains, trying to figure out, what happened? Why did this wish not come true? So the novels are the adventures of the two guys trying to sort out their wishes. And Cobbs has a whole backstory of his own. He lost his whole family one afternoon. They left the house and never came home.
Oh, wow. And you said you're on book 3 now?
Yeah, it's called The Obsidian Stone.
Cool, the Obsidian Stone, awesome. And I don't know how publishing and whatnot and different books work over there. I know my wife, she actually writes novels and whatnot. It's been a while since she's been able to do it, but she does that. How does it work over there in Ireland? Did you get an agent and go through a publishing company, or did you self-publish, or how did that all go down?
Tried the whole gambit, and eventually we got Ocellus. We got them publishing, so it's a small publishing, very small. But the book did pretty well enough to garner the interest of the Arts Council to give us the grant to turn it into the original board game. This was my version, which is so far removed from what it is today. The dynamics and the whole look of the book, the board game is incredible now.
Cool. So they just gave you a grant or whatnot? Was somebody there that works with the grants? Did they know? Are they into board gaming and they just like the novel, or how did that go down?
Yeah, I took the novel and all the artwork to the Arts Council originally to make sure I wasn't wasting their time. And I told them the proposal, and there was grant funding coming up at that point, and I applied for it. And the guy said, we actually reckon this would make a good movie. So in my head, it plays out as a movie. It's one of those big epic things, or animation or whatever. So the board game is a very natural transition from the book. It lends itself very well to the gameplay.
Yeah, I want to say it's been a little while since I saw it, but in you guys' opening Kickstarter video, I want to see the movie.
Well, the really cool thing, the voiceover of the video is the lady who did that for us is actually from Newry, where I'm from. It's Susan Lynch, and she's in the latest Ready Player One movie. I'm sure you've seen it by now.
Oh, no, I haven't seen it, but I've heard about it. Yeah, so that's pretty cool.
Yeah, Spielberg said it, yeah. So she's done the voiceover. And it's funny because David mentioned Artemis Fowl and Narnia and The Hobbit. C.S. Lewis based Narnia on the Mournes. And, it's cool. The links, like Owen Colfer, Artemis Fowl, he's the laureate in an ogre, was. So I've met him. And Mark, who built the big tree for us, he worked on The Hobbit. So there's quite a lot of links into the sci-fi and fantasy world through this.
Do you want another link?
Sure, go right ahead, David.
Lizzie Endicott, who was the nanny of C.S. Lewis, is Leonard, my business partner's great grandmother.
Oh, wow.
So she's the lady that actually told C.S. Lewis the fantasy stories before he wrote Narnia and the Lion, the Witch, and the Wardrobe.
And what was his relation to her again?
He's Leonard's great grandmother.
And that was C.S. Lewis's nanny. Is that what you said?
Yep, basically a baby minder.
Oh wow, there you go. That's interesting. That's kind of cool. I guess it's a small world over there in the UK.
We're all called Murphy.
We're all related. Yeah.
There you go. I have a little, I'm getting better at it, but I have a little bit of trouble with my UK geography though, because a lot of times when I'm on the Facebook surfing around, I'll go ahead and see something from Ireland posted, and I'll go ahead and share it with some of my friends, and they're actually from Scotland, and so they get a little irated at me.
There's no real difference. Ireland and Scotland are all the same, really. We all speak with a funny accent.
Oh, there you go. Yeah, hopefully they're not listening. Hopefully, Mark McKinnon, who he's going to be launching a game on Kickstarter, I think tomorrow. In fact, Wreck and Ruin. It'll be its third go around, as well as Richard, who runs We're Not Wizards. Hopefully, they're not listening, because I think they would beg to differ about Ireland and Scotland being the same.
I don't know. I think if we got a pint of beer in their hand, they'd be happy enough.
Oh, there you go. There you go. Interesting. So that's pretty cool. So yeah, so you went ahead and applied for that grant to make it a board game, and then you met David, and was it Larry? Is that correct? Is that your partner?
Leonard.
There you go, Leonard. Okay, so you met them, and then it just went from there.
Yeah, exactly. They played my version of the game, remembering I've never gamed before. It was more of an artistic kind of thing, although I would love to have been commercial at the time. But the guys came along, sat down and played the game, and realised how flawed it was, but saw the merit in the characters and the artwork, because it is exquisite. And then they wanted to do their version of the artwork, which I adore as well. So it's different than the original game. It's original in some of the artwork and the illustrations in the books, but it stands alone. It's really excellent, really excellent, and it brings alive to me all the ancient Irish mythological creatures that people have forgotten about. I mean, the most people might remember nowadays is the Banshee, but beyond that, people don't remember much.
For sure, yeah. So that's cool. So they went ahead and scrapped the art. Besides the art during playtesting, because I imagine you guys have done a lot of playtesting. During playtesting, besides getting new art, was there ever anything that just had? How did the game change besides the art, I guess?
Well, I'll let David answer this, because it's mainly him. But the good thing was, I introduced David and Leo to the two original artists from the original board game, my version, and they saw how good they were, and they worked brilliantly together, John Farley and Alan Perry, and they came on board for the reimagining, which is what you're seeing now.
Yeah, I think to be fair, Blake, and I said this today in this BGG thing, this interview, that when Terry Pratchett or Garry McElherronto or any author, bestows a license or whatever on a game designer to produce a game, I think the onus is on those game designers to produce something that enhances what they wanted or what they had, as opposed to just paste on a theme or a mechanic onto what was in the books. And I think, we have worked closely with Garry and John and Alan over the last year and a half to try and do that, and we have had to tweak subtleties, for want of another word, because Gary's brain is a bit like Leonard's brain, I suppose. There's very creative people in the world, and their brain is constantly churning out more and more and more creative ideas, and I think that's fantastic. But you can't use them all, and you've got to try and pick the best. It's a bit like playing the game and building a game. You've got to get the best ideas from those creative people, and then the best ideas in the game that complement each other. So I think we tried very much to do that, and try and keep the game as close to possible as the book, without actually replicating the book verbatim, so it still became a board game in its own right. that people could enjoy. And I suppose it's a bit like our Guards game. People played Guards and then went off and started buying Terry Pratchett books. In the same way, we would like MourneQuest to be published and people then read the book or get the books, you know?
Yeah, for sure. I remember talking to you last time, and you were telling me about working with Terry Pratchett and his for the novels to make those into board games, and that's pretty cool. And we love Terry Pratchett books around here. And I think you said those aren't available anymore. Not to detract from MourneQuest, but those aren't available anymore. Are they your Guards game and stuff?
No, Guards is out of license, but Clax is still available, and it's very popular. People like that, the semaphore of being a Clax operator and trying to transmit words before their opponents or playing the cooperative race game.
Oh, cool. And is that available both in the US? Where is that, just in Ireland, or where can you get that?
Oh, you can get that in the US. I mean, PSI would sell it through their distributors for a Ninja division. And you can buy it direct from our website or through a Stadium and retail outlets through your FLGs, your friendly local game stores.
Okay, awesome. So yeah, so you said you enhanced it and kind of make it better or whatnot during play testing. From the different iterations or whatnot. Besides the art, was there ever anything that you guys had to scrap because it just wouldn't work? Anything with the gameplay or whatnot?
From Gary's idea to the new idea.
Yeah, or just along the way, even after you changed you guys' ideas and stuff.
Well, I suppose what we worked on most recently was the final battle. We had sent demo copies of the game to some leading sort of podcast reviewers around the world, and one of them came back with a few comments about the end battle being a little bit, too long and stuff, and it the climax of the final big boss fight went on too long. So we went back to the drawing board and play tested that and came up with a few ideas, and it became much more dramatic and sent it back out there, and all those guys really liked it. So that was the biggest change towards the end, I suppose.
Okay, cool. And who was that? Can we ask, or is that privy information?
Well, it was Mark Street from the Dice Tower.
Okay, cool. That's awesome.
And Mark's a really nice guy, so take my hat off for his sound opinions.
There you go. Awesome. And I want to say, because I was looking back at the old, because this is not the first time that you were on Kickstarter. I want to say you canceled the last one. I want to say, looking at back at the last page, all the previews or whatnot weren't available on the Kickstarter page, but this time you have more previews or reviews of the game on the actual Kickstarter page. Is that right?
Yeah, there's 3 good previews on the Kickstarter page there. One from Board Game Brawl, one from Tantrum House, and one from the Dice Tower. And they all really loved the game. Couldn't have been more complimentary about it, actually.
Okay, cool. Yeah, I want to say I heard them talking about it vaguely on the Tantrum House, one of these last podcasts a couple weeks ago or whatnot. So that was pretty cool. So besides having more previews and whatnot, with the relaunch or whatnot, what else did you change? Did you change anything else to the Kickstarter page? Or I know you said you changed the game a little bit, but anything else change?
Yeah, well, we lowered the Kickstarter target to make it maybe more attractive to backers and try and get funded sooner. It hasn't turned out that way. We restructured the campaign a little and lowered the stretch goals, and we actually chipped a little bit off the price for the deluxe edition for backers as well. Again, with the view that hopefully more backers would think, it's a really cool game with, really superb Irish miniatures, and come on board. But I mean, at the minute, it's not doing too bad. As of right now, it's 80% funded. So hopefully it'll keep going. We're going to the UK Games Expo on Friday, Saturday, Sunday of this coming week. So hopefully a lot of people will play it there and jump on board and support the campaign.
So that'll be the first, second, and third of what do you call it? June, is that right? So if anybody's listening, hears this and is over there in the UK, I know about 9% of our listeners come from there in the UK, it seems like. So if any of them are listening, where would they go to find you? I don't know how big the UK Game Expo is or whatnot. How would they go about finding out MourneQuest?
Yeah, it's pretty big. I mean, I think that's 70,000 or whatever last year. We're in Hall 1. It's Hall 1K12.
Okay, and we'll make sure we leave everything in the show notes so they don't have to go and search. So hopefully, if they're listening, they'll be able to find you that way as well. So that's pretty cool. Now, per se, Gary and David, per se, somebody's fallen asleep during the interview. It wouldn't be why they're listening. It wouldn't be because of you or this game or your awesome accents. At least in my opinion, they're awesome. It'd be because of me and my podcast. After at the time of this recording, it's the end of May. And at the time of this release of this episode, since the first of the year, we've already come out with 85 episodes. So they get a little tired of hearing me drone on and on. And but they've since been jolted awake. So they are suddenly awake so they don't hit that oncoming traffic. And you both have their full attention. Why should they take a chance on MourneQuest, especially with, like you were saying earlier, Gary, with all the great games that are out there on the Kickstarter currently?
I think what I notice when I go to comic conventions, I'm still a big comic reader, is the amount of people that sell things that are very of the day, like, Batman T-shirts and Star Wars T-shirts that aren't really their own thing. They're using someone else's IP. I adore walking down the laneways of the individual artists and buying their comics and their books, because they're producing something very original. When I see a lot of the games, as somebody mentioned earlier about, how many zombies can you fight, to come up with something new and original that was inspired by my son. Like Jack is the main hero of MourneQuest. He's actually in the board game, Jack. And then Tess is my daughter. She's one of the characters in the board game. And then Grace was born as the first book was being written. So we hid her in the story, and she's a character as well. So to see something that means so much to you and that you've invested so much in it, it took 4.5 years to get the first book out. And then, to meet people like David and Leo, who are producing very, very original work. I mean, they've gone to Terry Pratchett and they've gone Clacks and Guards. It's still very original work. And then to take someone like myself and to help realize a dream. I mean, this is a dream. This is something that, I'm following the Kickstarter campaign. It's nearly become an addiction to see, it's like watching stocks and shares, and to see it rise, to see a product that you've made, possibly sitting on a shelf, possibly being played by others, possibly reading the book, possibly seeing the world of MourneQuest grow. It is incredible, so my hat's off to David and Leo for what they've done.
For sure. What about yourself, David? Why should they take a chance on backing MourneQuest, especially with all the other great games out there on the Kickstarters?
Well, again, we've been in the industry now for 8 or 9 years, and this has been going on. This development of this game's been going on for about 1.5 years, and a lot of people have seen it. A lot of people in the industry have seen it at Gen Con last year at Essen. A lot of distributors, and every one of them has said it's original, it's different, it's a niche market, it's something that nobody's really done before. It looks nice, and we haven't just put minis on Kickstarter for minis' sake. We've got a good game, and then we've put some minis in that maybe enhance the good game a little bit more. So yeah, and there is the dexterity there if it's somebody who really just wants really cool Irish miniatures and they love painting, that they can obviously buy the game just to paint the minis. I'm sure you saw the coloured minis done by Alan Perry. We've had lots of really good comments about those. I mean, I took them up to the top of Slave Donard, the highest mountain in the Moors, shot a video of them, which is the birthplace of the idea of this story. And I think that's a little bit different. I mean, it's not just something out of Gary's mind. He's brought into it, the local landscape, the local names of the mountains, the places. So even if you look at the board game in itself, it actually has physical landscape and mountains marked on it, the names of them, like an Ordnance Survey map. So it's quite good for introducing people to that part of Ireland and the magic of that part of Ireland.
And you said even if we were to give the people over there in Scotland a drink, they might be okay with Ireland as well.
I think so. I'd be all right with Scotland if they give me a drink.
Well, there you go. There you go. Sometimes that's all it takes. So, yeah, I forgot to ask. I don't know why I did. But yeah, there is a lot of mini games out there, especially Cool Mini or not. And as of late, there's been a lot of games with the excellent miniatures that are releasing and whatnot. So, per se, because we like miniatures around here, but we also like excellent games. So, per se, we were to sit down to play a game of MourneQuest. How would that look? Wait, what would it sound like? I mean, this is a podcast after all.
Well, it's funny. I was at a game convention in Belfast last week, and very much so. We had a couple of different groups of 4 playing MourneQuest. Very much so. In both games, we had a lot of player conversation, interaction, and talking. They weren't actually texting each other. In fact, I think only one person in 2 games looked at their phone during the whole 2 games, which was quite good. But we did have, in both games, we did have like one person who would sort of end up taking the lead and encouraging the others to make certain decisions. So it's quite interactive in terms of, vocal communication.
Okay, cool. How did play go down? Like, how does somebody's turn look? It's a co-op game, you said?
Yeah, play went down very well. As I said earlier there, that, very much one of the guys was saying, look, you would be better going to get the gold, and I'll go around and I'll get the granite. And then if you use that tunnel, you could come around and do that. And then you could freeze the Brogbean. And they're trying to strategize the game a bit like chess. But obviously, we still have in there some unforeseen elements, like which disc is going to turn, which nightmare might come out next. What is the roll of the dice actually going to do? What are you going to draw out of the velvet bag? Which beast is going to come which direction after you? So there's, it's a bit of an adventure game, I suppose, but adventure cooperative. And I mean, that's what you want. You don't want an adventure game where it's very linear. And everybody walks across the bridge together and then the bridge collapses. You want some of them to have a chance, of making the game and winning the game.
Okay, awesome. But you can lose the game too, I imagine?
Oh, yeah, totally. You can lose the game. Basically, if any of the hero characters die, you lose the game. Or if the Chimnivore breaks through the wall in the final battle, you lose. So there's a number of ways you can lose there. If all 4 of the nightmares get out, I can guarantee you'll probably lose as well because you're all going to die. Somebody's going to die.
Oh, wow, awesome. So, yeah, that sounds pretty cool. So, what does my turn look like? Do I have so many actions I can take, or how's that look?
Yeah, you have 3 actions, and on your actions you can move, you can fight, or you can pick up stuff or put down stuff. There's certain actions as well that you can do which are free actions. If there's a treasure chest on the crossroads, you can pick up treasure for free, or you can go to a nexus point where you can pick up one of the equipment cards for free, or you can use one out of the surplus deck. It'll cost you an action. But the different levels of the game, when you're picking up the charms to put in for the nightmare discs, on the first and second level, you can pick up multiple charms as one action, but on the 3rd level, which is the difficult level, it's 1 charm per action, so it becomes a lot harder to beat the beasts.
Okay, awesome. Awesome. And what did your initial game look like, Gary, compared to this?
Without trying to sound too bad, like a 4-year-old's version. You basically went around the game and you circled the evil creatures until you defeated each one to get ultimately to the Chimnivore. But as David just said, mine was a lot more linear. There was less interaction, although we had cards similar. Some of the cards are still similar. Now, the interaction is much better when I've sat and watched people play the game. What I always love is I love a good argument with a game, even though it's a cooperative. It does lend itself to who's going to fight and who's going to this and who's going to. Don't you do that? If you do that, then you're going to scupper it for everyone. So my original one was nowhere near. It didn't have the nuance or the sophistication that David and Leo's 60 odd years of combined experience brings.
Thank you.
Awesome. And so, and if somebody's interested in the novels, can they pick those up somewhere, Gary?
Yeah, if you go onto Amazon, just Google MourneQuest, you'll pick it up on Amazon, Kindle, Nook, all those electronic doofer things that.
Well, we are giving them away to backers though on the Kickstarter.
Yes, that's the big thing. I mean, the book is there as part of the campaign. So if you pledge and back, you can get a copy, which is definitely the way to go.
Oh yeah, for sure. So yeah, looking at it, it looks like you get is that book 1 in the series you get?
Yeah, and it's the electronic version. I'm thinking probably we might just give away book 2. If we can get more backers onto this, I might just put book 2 in for everyone as well, just to enhance it, because I'm a great believer in this project. I think it's incredible.
Well, there you go. So yeah, and are you guys on any other podcast talking about MourneQuest?
Not this week. We've got the UK Games Expo coming up, as I said, on Friday. So I can tell you we're working on another game as well at the minute for the Expo, for a demo game, and we just have so many things to do. I need a multiplicity. I need to clone myself and Leonard and have a couple of each of us. Yeah. So really, if they're going to interview me, it's probably going to be on Bluetooth while I'm driving the car.
Oh, wow. Yeah, that'd be good if I could do mine that way. I understand that completely. Yeah, so awesome. Yeah, so can I say you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, or were you on any other interviews the last time when you ran it?
Last time, I think I did one other one, and I can't remember who it was because I'm like 29 plus fat now, so I have a bad memory.
Oh boy, yeah, I feel your pain. So you maybe possibly heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, but probably not. But either way, you should definitely go ahead and take a look over at the Kickstarter at MourneQuest, a board game based on the Irish fantasy novels by Garry, who we've been chatting with today. So definitely check that out. We'll leave a link in the show notes. And if you guys can jump over there, and if you like what you see, go ahead and click that Back This Project button, and it sounds like you'll get the book 1, and hopefully if we get enough people on there, we'll get book 2 as well. So definitely check that out. Plus all the great minis and the gameplay, from what it sounds like from talking to Garry and David today. Now, I don't know if either of you guys have listened to any of our podcasts or not. Either way, that's okay. But the next portion of the podcast is called Adventures in Application Acquisition, where we talk about an app, be it for a cell phone, a tablet, a computer, or even a video game. It doesn't even necessarily have to be related to board games or reading or anything going on in the Mourne. But is there an app you guys use a lot of that we can talk about for a moment? Maybe both of you guys pick an app that's on your phone, or I don't know how apps work over there in Ireland.
Well, I have a Kickstarter app on my phone.
I have a Kickstarter app, which is it's getting a lot of use. Or you could always go to my children's school one, because they're always sending me information I don't want. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Awesome.
Yep. Sorry. I say I have Duolingo for trying to learn German for Essen every year, and I learn about 3 sentences. But
oh well, that's a pretty good job then. Like, where's the bathroom and what else?
Yeah, but my favorite app probably is Kindle.
Totally agree. Kindle, I would agree totally.
There you go. So what can you tell us about the Kindle app, David?
I really like reading the books on Kindle. And now that you can have flight mode on the airplane and read your book from takeoff to landing, it's awesome. I'm a big fan of Raymond E. Feist, and I'm a big fan of The Painted Man by Peter V. Brett.
And probably the MourneQuest too. We got to say that, don't we?
Oh yeah, I've read it twice, cover to cover.
Try some Jared Brennan. I mean, there's a writer you want to read. Bernie McGill.
Awesome. So if you guys own the rights to the Kindle app, what would be one thing you would do to fix it or make it better?
I saw something once I thought was incredible, where there was a slight amount of animation put into the book. It was Charles Dickens' Christmas Carol, and it just showed you Scrooge at the top of the book, the page of writing, and it was an aerial shot, and he walked down through the words, and they moved like snow, and it was exquisite. And then you read the next 30 pages or so until the next little tiny animation interrupts. So I like the idea of having something. I don't know. I love being immersed in a book, and nothing to annoy me, but at the same time, just something magical like that was quite exquisite.
So kind of like, I don't know if you ever saw Winnie the Pooh, the Disney cartoon.
You're talking. I'm a major Pooh fan here. I mean, major. I still read it once a year. I have pop up versions. I have the original version. Yeah, I adore Pooh.
Well, there you go. They do something like that in the TV shows or whatnot, where the pages are animated and whatnot.
Yeah, and maybe that's why I like it. It reminds me of my childhood. Yeah, it works.
Yeah, well, I agree with Gary, but I mean, my thing is, in the Harry Potter films where the pictures on the wall or the newspapers, the people actually start to move in 3D.
Yeah,
I quite like that.
that's in more. I think I did it in MourneQuest. They all looked down from pictures and mirrors, and I hadn't read the Harry Potter. I deliberately didn't want to read it in case somebody said you copied. But there you go.
Awesome. So yeah, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what David and Gary would do to make the Kindle app a little bit better, because we try to make a green podcast. So if any of the creators or anybody who deals with the updates of those apps is ever listening, you heard it here first on Getting Geeky with Game Relief, what David and Gary would do to make those better apps. Now, we don't want to keep you all night, yeah, because it's not actually night over there where you guys are. But we want to thank you for coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief. And minus coming over there to Ireland to stalk you personally, how would people go about finding out or keeping up with what you have going on, both with board games, David, and also with MourneQuest and new novels and stuff, Gary?
Well, obviously, we have our backspindle.com website. We have a Backspindle Game Facebook page. We have a Twitter page. We have a Instagram page. We have a YouTube channel. And people can contact me through that. And I mean, with like 2 or 3 emails, it's leo@backspindlegames.com, David, and info@backspindlegames.com. So there's all those ways. We sometimes are found in Wee Gamers, and another time, which is a gaming club in Whitehead, and another time we'd be found at Lisburn Gaming Club. So local gaming clubs occasionally when we get time off.
And this weekend you can find them in whereabouts? What room were you in for the UK Game Expo again?
It's Hall 1 and it's K12.
Hall 1, K12. Awesome. So we'll make sure like I said, we'll leave the links in the show notes and whatnot. And what about yourself, Gary? How do they keep up with MourneQuest or other novels that might be coming out in the future?
I'm less digitally orientated than David. But I have a blog that I don't go on that often, but I do when new things are happening like this. There is a MourneQuest website, although I set it up myself, and I'm always afraid to touch it in case I break it, so I don't update that too often. So Facebook is probably the best place to find me.
Okay, do they search your name or search MourneQuest, or?
I've set up both separately, yeah.
Okay, awesome. So we'll make sure we leave a link in the show notes and everything, so they can sometimes people get a little bit lazy, especially here in the US, where they want to click something instead of typing it in.
I'm like that. I hate typing in.
There you go. Maybe it's all over the world then.
Yeah. It's TTP. I still write that stuff.
Oh boy. There you go. So yeah, that's awesome. So we'll make sure we leave links in the show notes, but we want to thank you all both for coming on Getting Geeky with Game Relief.
Thanks for listening.
Okay, thank you very much indeed.
No problem. We really appreciate it, especially with such short notice and such short notice. So make sure if you're listening still, hopefully you are, go ahead and definitely check out the Kickstarter page that we'll have the link in the show notes. Check out MourneQuest, the board game, and it's on the Kickstarter currently, and it's going through the 7th of June. So you have a couple more days to get in on that.
Yep. Please do.
So awesome.
It's time for Kickstarter Corner. To begin now.
You heard her right, ladies and gents. It's Kickstarter Corner, but first we wanted to go ahead and let you know, as our winner never contacted us back, that we've gone ahead and re-picked the winners to Game Relief's epic board game giveaway, in which one lucky U.S. listener will win 8 great games, and 2 non-U.S. or worldwide listeners will win a $25 gift card to Amazon. So, shall we do it? Let's go ahead. And first off, our U.S. winner is Dwayne Agin out of Little Rock, Arkansas. Dwayne Agin, A-G-I-N, out of Little Rock, Arkansas. So if you're listening, Dwayne, or any of our other listeners, go ahead and give us an email over at gamerleaf@gamerleafgo.com, or send us a Facebook message over at Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf or Blake Leafty. The next winner, one of our non-US winners, is Ian. I think it is. It's either L or L-A-I-N or I-A-I-N Simmons out of Australia. DAKABINQLD Australia. So yeah, and then next we have Stephen Unser, UNSER, out of Port Coquitlam, British Columbia, Canada. So yes, if any of you guys are our lucky listeners and winners, go ahead and send us an email over at gamerleaf@gamerleafgo.com, or go ahead and Facebook message us at Getting Geeky with Gamerleaf or Blake Leafty, and let us know so we can get you your prizes and whatnot. But anyways, on with the Kickstarter Corner, shall we? Yes, we shall. First off, we've got Crypticuffs, a card game about cryptozoology. Crypticuffs is a card game involving some of your favorite cryptozoological creatures battling it out to see who becomes the top cryptid. You know about Scooby-Doo and how much we love him? Well, I don't know. We never really had an episode on Scooby-Doo. We should definitely do that. But Crypticuffs is the game for you. They don't have the meddling kids or the masks on the monsters, but definitely check out this cool card game with some awesome possum monsters. If they don't make it, I hope they do relaunch, and I'll let you know. We'll keep you updated. Keeping with monsters, the next one on our list is Monster Card Boulevard, 2 to 4 player strategic card game featuring 90 silly, seductive, and scary monster cards. Easy to learn and hard to master. This one is PG or parental guidance advised at 13 and younger. But it's definitely, it sounds like a fun and a hoot and whatever you want to call it. We recently sat down with Charlie and his crew, and they will be on the podcast later on this week. So definitely listen for that. They reached their goal, and they still got till the 17th of July. So definitely check that one out on the Kickstarters. Next, we've got the Art of the Month. It's gnome smashing fun. The gnome smashing, garden sabotaging game of wits, flowers, and fun for the whole family. Did I mention gnome smashing? We will also have the creator Shane from Brainbox Gaming on later on this week as well. So listen for that. They've only got 18 days to go, so you definitely want to get in on this. Going through the 15th of June. The Gamer Leaf family love this game, and I know you will too. So definitely give that one a look, even at their Kickstarter page. Next, we've got On Their Merry Way, which was a relaunch. It's a unique path-building board game starring the underdogs of the Tales of Robin Hood, the Greedy Merchant, and the Merry Men. This one is they got about 2 weeks to go at the time you hear this, going through the 12th of June. So definitely listen for that one. If you want to go back to the 1st of May, we actually have the creator on the show as well. Next, we've got The Pit, the board game. It's a 4-player co-op dungeon crawler set in an epic sci-fi universe inspired by the cult classic video games. They're doing quite well, and they still got 12 days to go, going through the 10th of June. Definitely give this one a check out. Next, we've got Treasure Mountain, which combines worker placement and tile laying to create a unique experience where you can bump other workers off spaces and take the action. This one is quite cool, and they've only got through this Friday, so you definitely want to get on this one. And something the creator told me, even if you back for just $1, you can come back within 2 months and go ahead and upgrade to the actual game. Definitely go ahead and take a chance on this one. I know we were worried we weren't going to be able to fund, they're going to fund. It's like pre-order because they're over 200% funded. But we were worried we weren't going to be able to back it. And then the creator, who is a great guy we sat down with over at August Games, he told us, back up for $1 and come back and you can get it later on. So that is cool. That's what the Leafs are doing. Next, we've got Forgotten Fight. It's a deck building card game. You need to choose a team of 3 heroes to prove that you know the best combo. They have cleared 10%. Well, I don't know if it's over 10%, But they finally got over the $1,000 mark, which is exciting. They're going for 10,780, so they're over 1,000. So definitely make sure you check that out. They've still got through the 26th of June, so there's still a shot. And they give us an update every day. We can learn about another card. So you definitely want to check out that one on the Kickstarter. We'll leave links, like we always do, in all of the show notes. And then we've also got Castle Madness, The Stars Are Right. It's a Lovecraftian cult card building game. No, it's a Lovecraftian cult building game for 2 to 4 players in which you are actually the old one. And they've got through the 20th of June. Definitely check this one out. The art is really cool, at least in Gamer Leaf's eyes. So definitely go ahead and check that one out going through the 20th of June. Last but not least, we've got Bushido Duels. It's an easy to learn and fast to play card game for 2, 4, 6, even 8 players set in old Japan. And they are going through the 14th of June. Definitely check this one out. The art is cool and it looks like a fun game. So that's what we have on the Kickstarter Corner. So definitely check that out. Reminder, if you won the contest, that you can go back and send us an email and claim your prize. I have to sneeze. You don't want me sneezing on the podcast, do you? Well, I've got to sneeze. I don't know when it's coming, so I don't know when I should pause this stupid thing. If I accidentally sneeze before the episode's through, you will know. But anyways, it's our least favorite time, your least favorite time. Time for us to get on with our lives and you to get on with your lives. Definitely check out this MourneQuest that you just heard us talking about with the creator and the author. Give it a like on Facebook and go ahead and check it out. Anyways, time to get geeky, stay geeky, and bring others into Geekfold. We'll catch you all on the flip side. Gamer Leaf out.
Gamer Leaf levels up. Tune in next week to see if Gamer Leaf's luck holds up.